We are resuming activity 11.6, and what we're going to do is select a basic shape to create multiple ideas for core garments. Some of the new tools that we're going to be using are Symbols, Fill, as well as Pathfinder Unite. You will see on the screen that I have my croquis and I have my two shapes. I've got the torso and the sleeve. And so if I turned off the croquis, you would see again the torso and the sleeve. Now, last time we put those into symbols. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the torso that I have brought out from symbols. Again, I can move my original out of the shape, and I'm going to break the symbol, break link to symbol. This allows me to manipulate this symbol so that I can change it. Now I can still have the croquis in if I want to be able to see the croquis. And I can move it into place. And then I'm going to zoom up. Now I want to decide where I want my neck to be. And so for this design that I'm creating, I want to have a slightly round or U neckline. So I'm going to take a guideline and put where I want my approximate neckline to be. Then I'm going to use the direct selection tool and bring it down to that guideline so that you see I have a scoop. Now I have quite a pointed edge here, and so I'm going to again zoom in, and I want to smooth out my edge. So again, I'm going to use the direct selection tool, and I'm going to move it so that I have a little bit more of a scoop. And I can either decide to have sleeves or no sleeves for my design. So right now I haven't decided, so I'm going to just leave it. Now I'm going to move down and zoom out, and let's say that I wanted to create a dress from this particular style. Again, I'm going to go to the direct selection tool. I'm going to select my point, and I'm going to bring it down to the approximate location where I want. So say I want it to be knee length, and then I'm going to align my points here so that I now have a knee length style dress. Then I'm going to add some anchor points onto my skirt edge or skirt hem. I'm going to zoom up here, and I'm going to use again manipulate my anchor point so that I can then create some curves to my skirt. Now one thing is that at the center front, this is true for a pattern as well as a design, that you want this line right here to be parallel. So I'm going to add a point and then make sure that my 2 points here right at the center are straight. So I'm going to again use the direct selection tool, and I'm going to make sure that we have a straight line. So I'm going to align them move it up. And then zoom out. And I may need to again add another point so that I can kind of manipulate this curve. Now I can check my design again by taking it and look at my design. I can select it and then go to Object, Transform, and Reflect, make a copy. Here's my copy. And I can check and see what I did here at the center front. If I don't like that, then I can get rid of those points. And again, I can manipulate by adding another point and doing my direct selection tool. So now I want to make sure again that my points are joined. So I want to zoom up close, make sure that those are joined here. And I can either use the join tool or I can use the unite tool. And so, or a combination of both. So I can, again, select the direct selection tool here. And but if I also wanted to make sure that this is indeed one complete shape, I can select the whole thing and I can select Unite, which takes the whole thing and it makes it into an entire garment. So I can select and make sure that we have a whole garment, so that again, if I were to fill this with a swatch, that it would fill correctly. So here's my garment and I've got it filled. Now we have one design here, so this might be one design that I'm going to create. But now let's create a possibility for another design. And this is where the advantage of using symbols really helps. So I'm going to go back to my symbols. I'm going to come back out and get my torso here. Got my torso. And now let's say that I wanted to create a little sweater that would go with this particular design. So I will take my original symbol. Remember that you have to break the symbol. Every time you bring it out, you have to break that symbol. And I'm going to have to break the symbol for the sleeve that I had previously brought out. So I have my two shapes. And again, I can have the croquis if I want as a guide. So I can bring up my garment onto the croquis shape just to give it a guide. And let's say I wanted to create just a little round neckline and have a loose flowing kind of a sweater. So let's say I want bring my neck down to here, and I'm going to again use the direct selection tool, bring it to the center, and let's say I then want to get rid of my waist kind of a shape here, because I want it to be a loose flowing kind of a design. And again, I'm going to use the direct selection tool, and possibly this one here is just going to be just sort of a loose shape for a sweater. So maybe to the top of the thigh, and then bring in my sleeve here. And then again, I can repeat by adding a few anchor points to the bottom of my hem. I can then again, I can zoom in and convert those anchor points to add a nice little curve, kind of a shape to it. And then I want to kind of straighten up my center. So now I have the idea that I want, and I'm going to zoom in close to my sleeve here and add in the sleeve kind of shape, and so I can bring that so that it matches right here. Get my sleeve as close as I can to my shape. Then I can select a couple of different things. One, I can select both of these shapes if I want, and again select Pathfinder and join. So you will see that it joined both of those shapes. I can also just group them and keep them separate if I desire. So when I have my join kind of tool here, because this sleeve was close to the torso, it selected it as part of the torso itself. So if I don't like the uh, Pathfinder and the Unite tool, there's always undo, and I can keep those two shapes separate. Keep the two shapes separate, and then fill both of them. So now again, I'm going to select my little sweater here, and I'm going to do again object, transform, reflect. I'm going to select both of them. And make a copy. And I've got my copy to the other side. So I just want to check the fill to make sure that I have the fill that's desired. And remember, since this is a little sweater, it's okay that it's not aligned perfectly straight there. because we want to kind of show like a little gap. And you may need to do a little manipulating of your corners. I see that my corners are pretty sharp right here at the edge. Then, if I want to, I can move my dress underneath to see how that my dress kind of looks. I can fill that, of course, with white to see the idea behind the dress. I can then move that object to the back so I can see what kind of looks like, and in playing around with the design. Keep in mind that on a storyboard that these two garments would be shown separately, but I have them again both in the correct scale, and visually a designer wants to look at it to see if the two designs go together or not, or maybe this dress needs to have a short kind of a sweater that goes with it and not have the free-flowing kind of a sweater. So there you see I have created two designs from my basic symbol.